So welcome to the Intro CSD video 4. This particular video is going to focus on two very important things this year. One is on your local computer, how do you edit in Visual Studio Code? And number two, how do you view your websites on your personal computer? Unfortunately, it's going to get a little more complicated. The first thing you need to do is we're going to go into ILS, and you're going to go into the home page. You're going to go into Web Development Projects. And just like video 3, we're going to open up the, with this one, we're going to open up the Simple Business Web Page project. Just to show you what's going on. You'll notice there's no concepts. Under the objective, it gives you instructions on what you're going to build. You're going to build a small business website. So let's say you've got a donut store or a donut cart or a lemonade stand and you want to build a web page, just one page, for that particular site. Now if you scroll down here, you'll notice that there's a video a little more advanced talking about, hey, how do I set up navigation on a web page? How do I have a menu on the top where I can go to separate pages? Because one of the requirements for this particular website is that you have a couple pages. So you have a home page, but you have a link on there that's going to take you to a about page that's going to maybe talk about the store, or a contact page where they can contact you, or a menu page. So you'll notice on the right that you again have two links. One is a link under lesson resources for the website that'll give you more instructions on how to build the web page. Lesson link 2 is sample code that gets you started on your website. So if you click that, just like we've done in video 3 on the portfolio, you're going to see that there's HTML code, and what you're going to need is grab all the HTML code. Now, how do you know when to start and when to stop when you're cutting and pasting or copying? Well, first of all, you always start at the top where it says HTML, and notice that there's a less than sign and greater than sign. That means that HTML is what's called a tag, and that tag tells you, hey, this is the beginning of the HTML section. Notice there's another head tag underneath it, so there's header information with your title, and then what actually is displayed in your browser page is under the body tag. So these are all called tags, okay? So in order to get the HTML code, you want to take the beginning, the very top, and you want to go all the way down and find the ending tag. And an ending tag has a slash in front of it. So you'll see /HTML. That means that's the end of the HTML section. Now below that, you're finding more code, but it's outside the HTML area. So that's what's called your styles. That's the CSS code. And we're going to put that in a separate file. So I'm going to Control-C, or I'm going to right mouse click and copy. Now in Intro Video 3, we use Notepad. This time we're going to use Visual Studio Code. That's installed on all your computers. Now you may have a taskbar icon down on the bottom that says Visual Studio Code. Typically mine looks like this funny little blue symbol. Okay? If you don't have it, then you can add it to your taskbar. So you're going to open up the menu, the Microsoft Start menu, and you're going to type Visual, and you're going to wait for Visual Studio Code to appear. Now you should be able to right mouse click, and there'll be an option that's pinned to taskbar. Now since mine is already on the bottom on the taskbar, it says unpin, but you can pin it to your taskbar. But to run it, all you need to do is click on it. So I'm going to click Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to click on it. Now, when it pops up, it's basically going to have nothing in it. So the very first thing we want to do is what we did before now. So you've got Visual Studio Code open, but we want to create a folder for the project. So again, you're going to open File Explorer. You're going to go down to your C drive or this PC. You're going to click on your C drive. You're going to find the Sites folder. That's where all your websites are going to be located. And in Intro 3, you should have created a CSD 25 AM if you're in the AM class, and a PM if you're in the PM class. So this particular lesson is, let's assume that you're someone from the PM class now. So I'm going to double click on the PM class. And the lesson we're working on today, if you go back to ILS and we click on that, and again, you go to your projects, and we said this is going to be a business web page, right? And when you clicked on link 2, so I'm repeating, you'll notice it says business page. So what we want to do is in the File Explorer, we want to create underneath the CSD 25 AM or PM, we want to create a folder for this project. So click New, click, so you're going to right mouse click in the white area. You're going to right mouse click and go to New and go to Folder, and I'm going to type the word business. Okay? And I'm going to press enter. Okay? And that's going to create a folder called business where this website's going to be. And I'm going to double click on that folder, and now I'm inside the business folder. And we're going to do what we did before, okay? But we're going to do it this time in Visual Studio Code. So we've got the folder created. That's really all you need to do. And now we're going to go open up the Visual Studio Code. And the first thing you want to do when you open Visual Studio Code is you want to open a folder. So what you want is you want Visual Studio Code to point to the folder of the website you're currently working on. It's very, very important. So I'm going to open folder. I'm going to again scroll down to the bottom to the C drive. I'm going to go to Sites. So I'm going to navigate down to Sites. And again, we're pretending we're a PM student, so I'm going to go to CSD 25 PM. If the end of the year was 2026, it would say 26. But we created a folder CSD 25 PM. I'm going to double click on that. And then I'm going to double click on business. And make sure it says on the very type C drive, Sites, PM, business. And I'm going to click select folder. And now you'll see that Visual Studio Code does something for you. On the left, it shows you your business folder, and it's going to show you all the files that are in that folder. So you'll see that Visual Studio Code on the welcome page has a new file that you can click on, or you can simply click File and New File. So that's going to create a new file in the business folder. Now, it's going to ask you what kind of file it is. Visual Studio Code has extensions, so you can add an extension for HTML, but we're going to do a text file, and it wants to know the name. So remember, the HTML goes in a default. So your first page on a website is called index.html. That's your home page. And your websites will automatically pull that page up. So you don't have to type in a website and type the page you want to pull up, the HTML page. It'll automatically, if you just point a website to a folder and they go to that folder or they go to that website, it's going to by default pull up the HTML, the index. So we're going to call this file, and again our convention is lowercase .html. And now you'll notice it says create index.html. So I'm going to click on that. And it's going to go to create file, index.html. Make sure you're in the right folder and do create file. Now you'll notice that it comes up similar to Notepad, and you're going to now paste, because we copied the HTML code from GitHub, and I'm going to paste. And the nice thing about Visual Studio Code is it knows you're working in HTML. So it's going to highlight things, and color them. So tags are going to have different colors, and if you create errors, it'll help you find your errors. It also will help you format if you have some of those extensions installed. We'll talk about those later. So you'll see here that at the very top, and as you learn HTML, you'll discover what this stuff is. But in the header, it has a style sheet, and it says href. That means that it's going to pull up, it's going to look for style.css in that folder. Now, when you go over to the left, you only have an index.html. So the first thing we're going to do now is hit File, and I'm going to hit Save. It's not Google Documents or Sheets. You have to save your work. If you do a bunch of work in here and don't hit save and close it down and don't save it, you've lost your work. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create another file. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to New File. And this one we're going to call style.css. And again, it's going to say, do you want to create that? Yes. So I'm going to click the little blue. It's going to confirm that I want to create it. And now it pulled up a style CSS. So now you need to go back to GitHub and go to that tab that opened GitHub from the link and look for the CSS area. And the CSS in these templates are located right underneath the end tag for the HTML. So I'm going to take everything in the style area, which is a whole bunch on this website, and I'm going to highlight it all the way down to the squiggly brace at the bottom. Go to a blue area, right mouse click or Control C, and I'm going to select in the menu Copy, and then go back to my Visual Studio Code to the style sheet, and I'm going to right mouse click and paste. And then I'm going to again hit File, Save, or hit Control S. Some of you will learn the shortcuts. Now we have a folder under Sites, under your personal folder, with a business web page and a style sheet, just like we did in video 3 with the portfolio. And right now, what I'm going to do, you're going to notice under View, you've got some options. Okay, it is possible to view websites in Visual Studio Code. It's a little more advanced, but I just want to show you how to create HTML pages and style sheets. And if you had to create another page, do it the same way. Like if I want to create a link to a contacts page, I can do File, and I could go New File and create contact.html, and then I can put code in there. Okay? Now, the next thing we're going to do is we want to bring this website up. In order to bring the website up, you have to open IIS and point the default website to this folder. So how do you do that? Click Start, type IIS, And you should have Internet Information Service IAS Manager appear in the menu. If you don't have this, you want to contact IT or your teacher or a TA so they can have them turn it on, or it may be a matter of searching for it. So how do you open it? Again, this is Windows, just click on it. I recommend, you're going to be using this a lot, you pin this to your taskbar, which I've done. So again, right mouse click before you open it and select the option Pin to Taskbar. Now mine's already there, so it says Unpin. Mine is down here. It's got a little world and a computer next to it. So I could open it directly from the taskbar, but you can open it from the menu. Once that opens, you will see it says a start page, but underneath it will be the name of your computer, and each of you have a different computer name. If you click the little arrow next to the computer name, you're going to see that there's a little node called Sites with a little arrow. Click the Sites, and by default, every one of your sites has a default website. That means if somebody types in their browser localhost, it's going to go to your default website. And every time you want to test a new web page on a new project, you need to come in here and point your default website to that new folder. So under default website, you're going to see tons of stuff, but don't worry about it. Just go over here to the right where it says Basic Settings. Click on Basic Settings, and you're going to notice that there is a physical path and it points to a website. So I'm going to hit the 3 dots because it's going to let me browse to the business website that we just created. And I'm going to come down here to this PC, open up the C drive, go all the way down to Sites, and I'm going to look for the folder that we created for the PM class. Now we're not done yet. We got to open up that folder and point to the business folder. Now, if I was in the AM class and I wanted to view my website for the portfolio, then I would go to the AM and click the portfolio folder. But we're going to test the PM student under the business website. This is where we put all our HTML and our CSS and other files, our images and such. So there's the business folder. I'm going to select the folder and click OK. And I'm going to click OK. Now make sure it points to the business. You don't have to change anything else. Now, that you would think is all done, but you really have to stop the server and restart, or just click the restart button. Okay? Typically what I do is hit stop to make sure that start appears, because restart doesn't tell you anything. I never know whether it worked, and it's Microsoft. Things don't necessarily work. So I hit stop, and then I hit start. And now that repointed the website. So now I can open up a browser and type localhost. And that will go to the local computer. And that will pull up my default website. Okay, and should pull up those HTML files that we just pulled up. And that'll display your website. So I'm going to go back here to the business. I'm going to go to the index.html. So I noticed when I did localhost, the HTML page came up blank, but it should have come up with a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to do one more thing just to make sure that I did the index right. I'm going to put /index.html. Now, part of programming is debugging. So localhost with the index here did not work. Okay? So the thing I'm going to do is let's figure out what's wrong. Let's open up IS again. Let's go and select default website. And let's click Basic Settings. and make sure I pointed to the right folder, which I did. And there is an option here called default document. I'm going to double click that. And let's make sure index.html is in there. Because what it'll do is it'll pull up the website and it'll look for one of these files in this list. Typically, if index.html is the file I want it to do, I'll move it up in priority. So I'll say, hey, I want that one to move up the list. So I'm going to hit move up, so that index.html is the first. If you're never going to use any of these other pages, you can delete them. So you can have just index.html as your only one. Now, what I am going to do is I think we needed to restart the server. So I just restarted that website. Let's see if that works. So I'm going to click on the name of the computer, which is up top. That's your IS server. That controls all the websites. I'm going to click stop. And when start illuminates, I'm going to click start. And I notice stop illuminated, so that should have restarted it. And when I click the default website one, it should say stop. If it says stop, it means that it's running. And we're going to test this one more time and see if that brings anything. And it doesn't seem to bring anything. So I think my IIS is probably being blocked currently. I'm going to get rid of this other website that's on here that may be the default. So I'm going to stop this website. And let me refresh again. So you'll notice we got lots of debugging thing going on here. Now, the other thing is localhost may not be working. So I'm going to actually get the name of this computer. So I'm going to open up the command prompt. And you can get to that by clicking on start and type CMD. And I'm going to type host, let's see, host name. And that's going to give me the name of the computer. And it may require that, so localhost may not be working correctly. So I'm going to change that. And again, it's the default, so we shouldn't have to put index. But if I put the computer name, the localhost name, and again, that didn't quite come up because it tried to find something else. So looks like this one's got problems, but in the next video, we'll solve those for you. But on your computers, that should work perfectly. So at this point, I'm going to end this video, and we'll resolve the problem. And in the next video, we'll go into a little more detail. So we'll see you then. Bye.